early in the game, he committed one of the worst base running blunders you could ever see. And I'm not talking about losing concentration and getting picked off. He's on second base. Austin Wells, hits the ball off the wall. And Anthony Volpe winds up on third, one base only. If you went halfway on the ball that was hit, you score easily. He got lost. He was like a deer in the headlights. And it was happening during a time where the Yankees could not break through. Frustration was at its highest. They needed that run in the worst way, and they were in danger not getting it. Fortunately, Anthony Volpe scored on the next play, a ground ball by Chaz Chisholm. He took off and scored. And from that moment on, he was magnificent. I mean, in every way, shape, and form. He hit the big grand slam home run, and the Yankees went from 2-1 up 5-2. And all of a sudden, you got the feeling they could win this game, because early on, when Freddie Freeman hit the 2-run home at the start of the game, let's be honest about it, you thought this was it. They're destined to lose the World Series. Freddie Freeman is destined to be the MVP of the series, and he might still be, of course. He's the front runner at this moment. And you had the feeling this is going to be a long, depressing night for the Yankees, but it put them up 5-2, and all of a sudden it woke up the crowd, and the thought was, we have a good chance of actually winning this game now. We expect to win the game. We're in the driver's seat now. But the play with Mookie Betts, the ball hit down the right field line. And what you said, Mac, you don't do that. It's one thing about fans trying to help their team in a way and going a little overboard within the confines of sport. But when Mookie Betts' hand was grabbed when he was in the air, that's scary. He could have gotten injured. Yeah. That's an absolute no-no. You go for the ball. You try to knock it away. You try to do a Jeffrey Matt type thing. I can live with that, Mac. I really can, because the umpires are there and they can still call the batter out. The umpires can make a judgment call, but you're not putting the player at any physical risk the way they put Mookie Betts at risk. You want to grab his glove and jostle the ball quickly, not grab his glove, but push his glove and knock the ball out. I can live with that. You're trying to help the home team, and the umpires are there. They see it. They make a call. But to grab the guy's hand, Mac, while he's in the air, could you imagine you don't let go and the guy's in the air and you're holding his hand? You could injure him badly. Yeah. It was scary to me. But it happened so fast with the fan. I don't think they realized it. I'm sure their intent wasn't to hurt Mookie Betts. But still, guys, unacceptable, very unacceptable.
Yeah, when they grabbed his other hand, it was just to stop him from holding on to the ball. I know he was trying to hold the ball when the guy was, pulling at his glove. Yeah, you can't do that. You just can't do that. And in fact, you can't hold his glove either. I mean, you can't hold his glove.
The safety thing bothers me, Mac. Not the way they're affecting the game. They're trying to help their team. I can understand that. Like I said, the umpires are there. They can call the guy out. They see what's happening, whether the ball's in play or not. The interesting part about it, the batter was called out, and Aaron Boone didn't complain. And I was thinking to myself, you could make a case that the fan was entitled to maybe go after the ball because it was in borderline foul territory, perhaps. That thought did enter my mind, but the Yankees didn't complain about it. So, I guess it was the right call.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's a foul ball, the player has a right to the ball. I mean, you can't.
Fans have a right to the ball if it's foul. No. If the ball is foul in the stand, you don't expect the fans to move out of the way and try to let him catch the ball. You could do that, but it's fair game. Fans are entitled, if the ball's in foul territory, try to catch the ball themselves. If it's in the stands, they're not allowed to lean over the railing because technically the ball's in play then. There's a difference involved.
I mean, can you imagine when that famous play when Jeter goes head over heels running, into the stands to catch the ball? Can you imagine if there's a couple fans there trying to stop him? I mean, I agree with you for the most part, but when that ball's hit and the player has a play on it, you should move the hell out of the way. I mean, there's nothing good going to come about that, Jack. And I get they're going to be called for interference. I'm just thinking you don't put the player in a position to get hurt at all. And I think that's what they do when they start fighting for the ball when it goes, whether it's a home run, a foul ball, whatever.
Wait, Mac, no. What about a player that goes diving into the stands? You're putting the public at risk in that way. And listen, Derek Jeter, you mentioned that catch. I was at that game, incidentally. This was in 2004. He was on the dead run, beating all out. And he caught the ball, went diving into the stands because he couldn't stop his momentum. You know, he knew what the foul line was. Can you imagine there's a little kid there? And he crashed into that little kid? I mean, he could have killed someone there, Derek Jeter, doing that. But Derek Jeter did the right thing. He, made the play, caught the ball legitimately on the field, but he couldn't stop his momentum. So if someone was there and he went into the stands and they knocked Derek Jeter over while he was running or whatever, you're entering the fans' territory then. But that goes without saying. But back to the game.
It's a valid point. I mean, that's a valid point, Jake. It really is.
Back to the game. The Yankees get a win. Obviously, they had to have, facing elimination. So is it just a reprieve, or are they back in the series, Mac?
No, I don't think so, Jack. I don't think anybody's come back in the World Series from 0 to 5 games. There is no one that pushed it to 6. Anything's possible, Jack. I don't think it's probable, though. I mean, even if it goes 6, even if Cole has a great game, then, I expect Flattery to have another good game, too. The Dodgers bats, there's just so many of them, Jack. And the Yankees, the bottom of the order came alive last game. We'll see if they can keep that up. Cole's the key. And Cole's the key. We talked before the show. If he's pitching well, do not go out and grab him in the 8th inning, or even if I don't care if it goes into extra innings. If that guy's still throwing heat and he's your horse, you got to ride him, Jack.
Yeah, that's a limit on how many pitches you could allow. You're not going to allow him to go 150 pitches, unaccustomed. But he was removed early in the series, game 1 after 88 pitches. Okay, there's no reason he can't go up to 115, 120 pitches as long as he's feeling okay. They'll communicate with him. They'll see how he feels, and the plan beforehand should be his mindset. They should let him know what they plan. Say, look, we're going to let you go as long as you can go. If you can go 9 innings, we're going to ride you for 9 innings of let be. But you got to let us know if you're starting to tire. You got to communicate that with us. And I assume Wells is going to catch him, not Trevino. And the communication has to be there with the catch as well. No being nice. We got to know if you think his velocity is stuck, he's losing it just a little bit. And you go with him as long as you can. You don't have a preconceived thing. Oh, we're going to pitch him up to 100 pitches, and then we're pulling him. When you get that number 100, Mac, out of a hat, because it sounds good, 100.
Even.
I mean, it always gets me that magic number, like 100 pitches. Like that's where guys' arms starts getting tired. That's where you're putting them at risk. It's like, why not make the number 150? What was it? Warren Spahn, Juan Marichal, they threw 247 pitches in a game each, something like that. Yeah. And they had like a 16-inning game and didn't affect them negatively after.
Yeah, 100. I think you're right, Jack. I think 100 is the nice round number. It's not 101. It's not 103. It's not 105. I mean, it's a nice round number, so they round it off. I don't know. I just know that, listen, they're going to L.A. They're going to be in the Dodgers' home. I know the Dodgers. I don't think the Dodgers were really.
Who's going to go to LA? If the Yankees lose tonight, it's over. They're not going to LA. LA is going to LA no matter what.
That's true. Let's say they do win tonight. It goes to LA. LA's at home. Do the Dodgers really want to win in Yankee Stadium? I mean, I imagine they do. But wouldn't it be nice to win in your own stadium?
Mac, that's what I like a lot about you. You know, you really live in the moment more than anyone I know. Uh, Now you're questioning, maybe the Yankees did make a big mistake re-signing Judge. They're probably
Right.
regretting it now. You're saying at this
Well,
moment,
probably.
if they can
Probably.
get out, if you could get out of the contract with Judge now, you would ship him off somewhere else for draft choice. As soon as the series is over, you wouldn't do it today,
No,
obviously.
not today.
So you're
Not
waiting
today.
for the Yankees to lose today, and then you'll ship Judge out. You might wait a week till after he receives his MVP award, and then get rid of
Yeah.
the contract, get a draft choice, and
You can
look
send.
to
You
see
can.
what else
You
you
can,
could get on the free agent market.
you can
Yeah,
send the
yeah.
MVP. I mean, you could forward the MVP award to him. I mean, wherever he goes, where
Yeah.
he's,
And if the
you know.
Yankees win today, they're out of it. They come back to LA. They can't win
Jack,
2 games
Jack,
there.
I mean, Jack, they got to win 3 games in a row. Not easy. Not against that team. I mean, it's not like
No,
they're playing.
it's definitely a big mountain to climb. But if I'm the Yankees, I look at it this way. Okay, you said it before. No team in Major League history that was down 3-0 has forced the 6th game of a World Series. Okay, uh, you know, uh, a few teams won 1 game, made it 3-1. The last time that happened was in 1970 when the Cincinnati Reds down 3-0 to the Orioles. I remember that game came from behind. Lee May hit a 3-run homer. They went up 6-5 and they pulled the game out.
Yeah.
And then they got off to a good start. Game 5, the Reds, and then the Orioles blew them out. But if the Yankees force a 6th game, even if you lose it hurts something bad. You take a little more out of it because you think, we showed fight. We did something that no team in Major League history did. Down 3-0. We came back. We won a couple of games. We showed fight.
I agree.
So I'm a big believer. You do take something out of it, even though it might not be a lot. Had the Yankees lost yesterday, can you imagine the talk in the off season that's going to be? And even them getting to the World Series would get diminished in their own city.
Yes.
You're going to hear Met fans say, well, we took the Dodgers to 6 games. You got swept in 4. You lost in 5. We did better than you did.
Right.
The childish talk between fans.
I agree. Listen, Jack, if they got swept, it would have been horrific. It would have been horrific if they got swept. I mean, I'm glad
it would still be bad if they lose today.
Yeah, but it would have been worse. Imagine you go to a World Series, do all this stuff, and you get swept. You're supposed to be one of the best teams in baseball.
But I'm going to say this too. If the Yankees get beat with their ace, the Dodgers get the cold, I mean, what more can you do? That's your ace. If you get beaten by your best, there's no strategy per se. And even with Judge is, he's under the microscope still. Kudos to the Yankee fans. They've gotten behind him 100% because if the Yankee fans boo Judge at any point for any reason, shame on them. They're not real fans. They're front runners if they did that. But Judge gets up yesterday. He gets a walk, shows a good batting eye. That was good. Then talk about luck. Then he gets hit by a pitch. He's on base again. Then he hits a ground ball to short, and it gets bobbled. He's run on an error. Yeah. Then he makes out, but then he gets a single late in the game, which was good. He really needed that hit there. And I have a feeling Judge is running out of time, but I get the feeling watching yesterday, his swings, his batting eye looked a little better. He might do something special tonight, possibly.
We'll see. Listen, I just hope Volpe keeps playing the way he's playing. I hope his back comes
electrifying.
I hope he is. And not only that, our second baseman, he's hitting the ball real well. Rizzo's hitting the ball real well. I mean, there's other players that got.
I don't think Rizzo's hitting it that well. Rizzo hasn't been hitting it real
I think he's over 300, Jack, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was over 300 batting average.
You'll have to look that up. But Rizzo's not driving the ball the way he did.
No, he's not hitting it for distance.
He's been hurt partly.
Yeah. But I think last time, if I'm not mistaken, it was 329. And if that's so, I think it's over 300, Jack. I could be wrong, but I think that I'm not going to take a minute and look it up. I want to push on to Monday night recap. Check it out, Jack. If you find I'm wrong, let me know. Monday night recap. Pittsburgh against the Giants. Pittsburgh goes to 6-2. They beat the Giants 26-18. There was a punt return by Austin on a punt. Wilson throws for 278 yards, 1 touchdown. Najee Harris rushes for 114 yards. Pittsburgh gets 4 sacks. Our rookie Tyrone Tracy runs for 145 yards. Daniel Jones 264 yards, an interception. Slayton with 108 yards. The Giants team with 4 sacks. The brand new offensive tackles they had in there, they started them. They did okay against those two, against Watt and Highsmith. But Jack, it's over. It's been over. I knew it was over before it started. I knew it was over. They're 2-6 right now, and there's what, this slim of a chance of them making playoffs. It's done.
Yeah, just a quick word. You were correct about Rizzo, but with the Giants, we keep talking about Daniel Jones. What about their defense, which was supposed to be their strength entering the season? It wasn't Daniel Jones, a quarterback. It wasn't Singletary with the running game. Malik Neighbors is going to be a heck of a, NFL receiver. He's performed really, he's lived up to his billings so far. But this touted Giant defense, they've only been so this year. And the Giants in the gray area, obviously you want to win the rest of the year. But if things do get better, to what extent do you want to run it back with the personnel you have now, with the head coach you have now? I mean, that's, 2-6, 9 games to go. Let's say the Giants go 5-4 the rest of the way. I mean, what are you going to do next year?
I mean, from what I read, the owner is going to stick with the GM and the head coach, but Daniel Jones is another story.
Why do we give John Mara a pass all the time? We get on Woody Johnson now, okay? Get rid of Robert Salah. We get on James Dolan, the head of the Knicks, the Rangers. People are starting to get on Hal Steinbrenner to an extent, not a big extent yet, but if he doesn't re-sign Juan Soto, they don't make moves. We hear about, Jerry Jones all the time. Everyone gets on Jerry. Some people are getting on Robert Kraft. Why is John Mara left alone? Because he's a nice man. He doesn't want to meddle. I love this. Owners shouldn't meddle. Let the GM do his job. Well, the GM's doing a miserable job. You got to get involved if you're an owner. You got to get involved. I don't mean you micromanage your people. But John Mara has to get involved in some way. He can't see a GM and have the GM say that, don't worry, just let me do my job. I know what I'm doing. The owner should be on top of every single thing unless he doesn't know football at all. And to him, it's just a business, and he's smart enough to know he doesn't know football. But John Mara grew up with the Giants. Yeah. He's got to know his share of football. He's got to know as much as we know, Mac. He's got to know more about his team than you and I know. If he's a good owner, he's got to be at practices, seeing what's going on, being involved in some way, at least being informed.
Well, the history of John Mara I know pretty well. I know that he was the GM for a while. He ran director of personnel. Then he hired a GM, and he was a former player. He was the defensive end Hall of Famer. Can't remember his name right now, but he was the director of personnel for the Giants for a while. He ended up leaving or getting let go. And Pete Rozelle went to him and he said, listen, you can't do this anymore. And he actually introduced him to George Young, and he said George Young is going to be your GM.
That was his dad. That was his dad, the other Mara. That was his dad.
That was Wellington. That was Wellington Mara, not John?
Wellington, yeah.
Okay.
That was the one that Pete Rozelle saw.
Okay,
yeah.
So anyway, so maybe if he learned from his dad, he doesn't know a lot about owning a team or whatever. I just think, Jack, I think that right now the Giants are in their third year of rebuild. And people don't realize that this is only the third year that both of them have been there. And you can get rid of the coach if you want. You can get rid of the GM if you want. And, we could be like the Jets and keep rotating head coaches and GMs in and out. And you're going to get nowhere anyway. I say they're going to give them this. They're going to run it back this year. I think, again, they draft a quarterback and let DJ do whatever, compete with the rookie for the starting job. Whether he wins or loses, we'll see. It's DJ's last year. It's Jones' last year, next year. And that's it.
Mac, one of the biggest cons in all of sports is the 5-year plan. We hear about a 5-year plan that a manager, coach has, a GM, whatever, and it's the con people because it gives you an excuse. If you're really terrible the first 2-3 years, well, we have a 5-year plan. We're coming along, we're progressing. And then by the 5th year, you show a little bit improvement and you're told, you see, the 5-year plan is starting to work. Give me an extension. Give me another few years.
Well,
it doesn't work that way, especially in the NFL. The NFL has changed from when you and I were in our youth. It changed a lot. There's no longer the patience that there used to be because there's such parity in the league.
It's true,
you can afford maybe one season to rebuild completely, but you better show a marked improvement by your second year. If you want to last.
I think every situation is its own specific. I mean, the Giants first year did end up going to the playoffs, so it did show that the coach there kind of knows what he's doing, and he fell off. And I think, Jack, I mean, if you look at the Bears right now, right, you got Eberflus, who's the head coach over there right now, right? I mean, the Bears are 3-3 now or 4-2. They're still at the
1-3.
Right, 4-3. So
they would be 5-2 if it wasn't for that idiot Tyreek Stevenson. Not realizing a play was in progress. It's more concerned with taunting the fans or joking around with the fans. Maybe I shouldn't say taunting.
So do you blame Eberflus for being too easy on his players and not being more strict and being too much a player coach? I mean, I don't know. It could be. And it could be that, I mean, I imagine they're coached for the tip drill. I imagine that's coached. But if they're not doing it, it's so, like I said, it's specific to certain things, Jack. I mean, some teams, they're going to run it back. Some teams fire their coaches, a year at a time.
Yeah, well, we're talking like about a team being allowed maybe 1 year for complete rebuild. And the perfect case would be Gerard Mayo, the New England Patriot head coach. Right. He's in his first year. They can lose a lot of games, and they are going to. They're 2-5 right now, but they're going to have a losing record. They might be something like 4-13 when all is said and done. I mean, I'm only speculating. But he's allowed one really bad year, 1 year to rebuild, as long as you have control of the team. If there's a lot of dissension, that's a problem. Like with Nathaniel Hackett at Denver, there was a lot of dissension. They let him go during the season. But by next year, if New England is the same as they are this year, you don't want to hear if you're Robert Kraft, well, we're rebuilding. You're given 1 year to rebuild, and that's it. And with the Giants, we're not sure what they're in. They're not in a rebuild or whatever, and they're not in a win-now mode. They're like in nowhere land, Mac. I could understand if they said this is a rebuilding year for us, but they never are saying that. You said it's a rebuilding year, but we still want to win. We still might do some good things, but the idea is to rebuild first and foremost. We want to have a strong team for years to come, but hopefully we can win this year and we can fool people. I mean, that should be the party line. Giants are caught in the middle, Mac. And as far as Brian DeBall, they made the playoffs a couple of years ago. Yeah, they were lucky in a way. They got off to a 6-1 start. I remember one game Tennessee misses a field goal, the last play of the game. They kick a Bullock, misses it, shanks it,
Right.
and they were
Yeah,
3-5-1 over their last 9 games last
I agree.
year.
I
I mean,
agree. I
that's
agree.
2 years ago. And then they won a playoff game,
Right.
successful year. Brian DeBal was still coach of the year. But they were awful last year. They've been bad this year.
Yeah.
Let's see how the year plays out. But there's got to be accountability.
Do you
And
think?
I hate you hate when I refer to Saquon Barkley, Mac. But if Saquon Barkley continues to run wild for the Eagles, there's got to be accountability with the Giants. Why didn't we sign him if I'm the owner? I wanted him back, and you
Do you
didn't
think?
want him back, but he's good enough to start for the Eagles, but not play for us.
Do you think Gerard Mayo, if it is so that Drake May is hurt and will be out for extended time, does that give him another year?
No. He's going to get another year regardless because the whole team is rebuilding. The only question is this. Robert Kraft is 82, 83. He wants to win now. Robert Kraft has had a taste of the great life. Going to all those Super Bowls, and even the years they didn't go to a Super Bowl, they were in the mix. They were the closest thing, the New England Patriots with Robert Kraft as the owner, the closest thing to a dynasty in sports in his era. 2 decades of excellence, if not dominance. And now they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. They're no longer a star attraction. They're not must-see viewing the way they were before. Listen, no one wants to see New England on the national stage. The only thing they have to offer is Drake May to see how he's coming along. Does Gerard Mayo get a second year? Yeah, he'll get a second year, but he's not going to get more than 2 years if they don't start showing improvement in the second year. If they don't start showing some serious upside. But who's going to be the villain, Mac? You tell me. If an owner like Robert Kraft moves on from Gerard Mayo, they're going to start blaming Robert Kraft.
Yeah.
And people are going to say, well, why did you let Belichick go? Belichick won what? He didn't win a playoff game in the 4 years before that. He went to the playoffs one time in 4 years, and they got bumped in the first game.
And he gave a reason why they sold all out for that last Super Bowl, and they were spent. Everything they
it was worth it. If they did, it was worth it to win a Super Bowl. I'll give up a decade. To win a Super Bowl, I'm willing to lose the next 10 years if it means winning the Super Bowl.
So let's preview tomorrow night's game. You've got Darth Vader, aka Aaron Rodgers, who embraces the darkness. It'll be interesting to see what happens after losing to the Patriots. They're playing. Houston's coming to town. Stephon Diggs is out. He's out for the year. So the wide receiver, he ended up, his ACL is shot, but still is a very good Houston team, Jack. And what happens now if, let's suppose, the Jets lose again? Are you going to keep Rodgers as your quarterback?
Well, what else are you going to do, Mac? I mean, who are you? Mac, that's pathetic. Tyrod Taylor is a career backup. There is a big body of work with Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor couldn't even beat out Daniel Jones for the position. The Giants moved on from him. So give me a break here. I mean, what are you going to call Mac next? You're going to say, get back Zach Wilson from Denver, get him off Denver's practice squad on waivers, and bring back Zach Wilson, and let's give him another shot.
Better record of quarterback than Rodgers has right now.
The whole team has been dysfunctional. Rodgers just, he's been bad. The timing patterns haven't been down. I might be a glutton for punishment, but I think the Jets are upsetting Houston tomorrow. And I don't think Houston likely. I think Houston's going to the Super Bowl. I think they're going to upset the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. That was my prediction at the beginning of the year, and I'm going to stick with that. But there's still football to be played, Mac. I'm a realist. They're not going to the playoffs. They're not making this big comeback. They're not going to go 9-8 and grab a wild card slot because they don't even have the tiebreakers. If the Steelers are 9-8, the Broncos are 9-8, they have the tiebreakers over the Jets. I mean, the Jets don't even have a back door to get in reality, in reality. So that if we get the playoffs with the Jets, it's a question of taking something out of the season, showing that they can be the team that we thought they could be. That's what the rest of the year is. Okay, get some wins, play well. Forget about the playoffs. I mean, it's the whole season of interest only making the playoffs. So we're not supposed to be interested in the games because our teams can't make the playoffs anymore. I want to see the Jets show up, play some really good football, win some games. Do what the Bill Parcells coach Jets did years ago. They were 2-8 and they won their last 6 games and they finished 8-8. They didn't go to the playoffs, but they got something. They took something out of the season. They left with their heads held high when the final game ended. And that's what I want to see this Jet team do. And I want Aaron Rodgers to start silencing the critics, show them he still has what it takes, and say, look, I can't wait to run it back next year and give the Jet fans some hope.
Jack, last week, before the game, or maybe 2 weeks ago, you said that the Jets had better blow out the Patriots, or Aaron Rodgers is just an average quarter. He's not what he was before. I mean, every week you come up with something new. Every week there's always that homer that comes through in you like, well, yeah, we'll upset Houston, but Houston's still going to win a Super Bowl, and we got to put some wins in. Jack, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
No, they're not making the playoffs, Matt.
They're not going to put a bunch of wins. They are worse right now than they were with Zach Wilson as your quarterback. They have a worse record, Jack. And they went and finished 7-10. They got a coach that has never been a head coach before, and it shows. And I'm not talking about Aaron Rodgers now. I'm talking about your real coach, who has never been a head coach before. And as far as Bill Parcells goes, what he would want to be on a team with Aaron Rodgers. What coach besides Rex Ryan, who's campaigning like a Southern diplomat for any coaching job he can get, besides Rex Ryan, would want to coach that team right now?
Well, I'm going to say this, Mac. Okay, the way the Jets are 2-5, 2-6. I'm sorry.
Yes,
it's been awful this year. But if you look around the NFL, they have some company. There's been a few other teams that were expected to contend as well. And look how poorly things are going. Look what's going on at Miami. Look how depressed they are. Look what's going on at Cincinnati. Look what's going on at Dallas. The Jets actually, do you think those teams should throw in the towel? Oh, it's all over.
I don't think they should throw in a towel.
No one's
I don't think they should throw in a towel. I think the Jets need a spark. And that's why you have a backup quarterback of Tyrod Taylor, who is a playoff quarterback. Let's not diminish him that much like he's nothing. He also beat the Philadelphia.
10 years in the league, and they went to the playoffs 1 year with him, and they didn't win a playoff game, as I recall.
As I recall, it was a while since the Packers have been in the playoffs and won a playoff game too, but that's beside the point with Aaron Rodgers. It's beside the point. All I'm saying is Tyrod Taylor moves better, and we had this discussion before. He's more mobile than Rodgers. His arm he has a very strong arm. He's a pretty good game manager. Maybe you need that one spark. I'm not saying he replaces Aaron Rodgers. I'm saying that, and that's all I'm saying, Jack. Maybe you need that.
Well, why? Okay, Mac. New England came back and beat the Jets. Jacoby Brissett gave him a spark. He led the team down the field. They scored. Why not just go with Jacoby Brissett, even if Drake May's healthy? Go with Jacoby Brissett.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers will be healthy at all this year. I think he's got that leg problem. I think that's going to stick with him all year. I think May, from what I understand, got concussed. So he may not be back next week anyway. It may take him 2 weeks. All I'm saying, Jack, is have Rodgers get some treatment on that leg. Let now I lost my train.
Tyrod Taylor.
But
But
yes,
I don't know how hurt. Listen, I don't know how hurt he is. Obviously, if Rodgers is very hurt and he's struggling to play to be in there, I would consider it. That's with any player if he's
Yes.
hurt that badly.
Yes.
But indications are if he can play, he can play. The thing about it, there's a quick turnaround from the New England disaster, and keep this in mind, Mac. Aaron Rodgers led the Jets to what seemed to be the game-winning drive. He took them all the way down the field.
Yep.
They went ahead. It was their defense that didn't hold. If the Jet defense held, what would we be talking about? We'd be talking about Aaron Rodgers leading the drive.
Yeah.
Good job by Aaron Rodgers. Why do we have to blame Aaron Rodgers for everything? He led them to what seemed to be the game-winning touchdown, but the defense didn't hold.
Listen,
Jack, why are we giving the defense a pass on this?
That's a great point. The problem is that's Aaron Rodgers it's about Aaron Rodgers this year, and the Jets offense only scored 24 points. It's not like they went there and they had 35 points. I mean, and they're not scoring 20 points a game. I think they're ranked. I don't know. I think they're ranked near the bottom in scoring right now. But the point is, listen, Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback. There's no doubt about it. Sometimes I think they should honest to God, I think they should pull Daniel Jones and put Tommy Cutlets in there for one game and see what happens.
Awful.
See what happens, Jack. I would try. And if he doesn't do any good, great.
Tommy Cutlets could come in, maybe give you a spark. He played a couple of good games last year. He's not an NFL caliber starter. So what are you doing? Some guys are NFL caliber starters, some aren't. With Daniel Jones, you never know. If you put him in the right situation, he might be able to thrive elsewhere, even with the Giants, the way he did for a little while, one season.
He might.
Like we see with Sam Darnold going on at Minnesota. You get him in the right situation, guys can thrive, but there are very few cases like Geno Smith where guys have kicked around from team to team, and then all of a sudden they find one team and they show they're truly an NFL, caliber starter, a franchise quarterback. Very few cases like that. Look, I'm a big believer, and this will back up your point, that if your starting quarterback is struggling during a game, do what you do in baseball. Come in with your backup if you feel he could give you a spark. If Aaron Rodgers is struggling in a Jet game, bring in Tyrod Taylor as your relief pitcher. And if Tyrod wins you the game, Rodgers starts the next week because he's the starter. But you have Tyrod Taylor ready if your starter's, kind of struggling. But the mindset in football, we hear from Keith Engel all the time, and you back it up, Mac. Well, if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. I mean, to me, that's a ridiculous statement. When we talk about the Texans, they have Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning. Oh, they don't have any quarterbacks.
Right, and they lost. The point I'm trying to make, Jack, is
they won last week, Texas.
They didn't Arch Manning didn't play last week. It was all Quinn Ewers. But the thing is, right, maybe the second half you bring him in, he starts running the ball. I don't know, Jack. I'm trying to figure something for the Jets to win, and it's not looking.
You're right. Listen, for one given game, I agree with you. I would maybe sit Aaron Rodgers down if he's struggling, and I would put in Tyrod Taylor. But there are implications involved also to an extent, Mac. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors. We really don't. I just get the feeling with Aaron Rodgers, he's not unpopular in the locker room, nothing like that. But the leadership that you were hoping to get from him is kind of done with for now, at least, because, you're losing. So he could give the team a speech And the guys will sit there and politely listen, but they're not going to absorb what he's saying at this point because they're not getting it done. So no one needs to hear Aaron Rodgers talking about accountability, you know, and all that.
I agree. So big game from the Commanders and the Bears. And, you know, this was a very close game, and the Bears could have won this game. They easily, it was within their grasp. We were watching, me and James on the NFL download, watching the game in progress as everything happens, Jack. And, you know, the Bears had it sewed up. It was done. It was all done.
I would
allow the receiver to go down the field. All right. But anyway.
No. I need an apology.
They give up.
Yeah.
They give up a pass on the sideline, which everybody knew they were going to go to sidelines because they had no more timeouts. And then they end up doing the Hail Mary while Tyreek Stevenson is over there involved in the crowd as the play is going. He realizes, oh, shit. Oh, damn. The play is going on. And he runs over and he tips the ball up in the air right into the tight end who gets behind. I don't know how he got behind everybody. And, of course, you're supposed to be in the end zone. Yeah, you have to end in the end zone, then wait for the ball to be thrown in and make your move. But he sneaks behind and, you know, he tips the ball up in the air, goes right into the tight end's hands. Game over. I don't know what to say. I mean, the Bears, it's a heartbreaking loss. I could even see Caleb Williams on the sideline tell him, hey, the play's going. He's yelling at the defensive back to get back there. And it was ridiculous. Stevenson did apologize in the locker room. I wouldn't accept his apology because an apology is when you make a mistake that you didn't know what happened. That's a mistake. He did this on purpose. He went to the crowd and tried to whatever he was doing with the crowd there, and then he was very unprofessional, Jack. I'd sit him on the bench.
Yeah, I called him an idiot before. Yeah. He did an idiot thing. I don't know him. I shouldn't have branded him individually. So I apologize to Tyreek Stevenson for saying that. He did an idiotic thing. I'm not the greatest disciplinarian, Mac, myself. Like, I tried to put myself in a coach's spot, and sometimes you don't know what to do with a player. The biggest blunder that I could remember outside of this boneheaded play by Tyreek Stevenson was what Leon Lett did many years ago in the Dallas game. A kick gets blocked. They just have to allow the ball to roll dead, and the game is over. Dallas wins. Instead, Leon Lett goes sprinting to the ball and tries to pick it up and doesn't gain possession. And Miami gains possession, and Miami's given a reprieve, and they kick the field goal, and they win the game because of Leon Lett. That was a boneheaded play. It was a bad mental mistake by Leon Lett. But Jimmy Johnson knew how valuable Leon Lett was to the team. So Jimmy Johnson said, well, he'll get over it. You know, one of those. But if he wasn't such a good player, Leon Lett, Jimmy Johnson would have cut him without question. Question. I don't know how valuable Tyreek Stevenson is to the Chicago Bears. And I keep telling myself, what would I do with this guy? You don't want to go over. You cut him from the team, number one. If he's really a valuable player, is that going to serve a purpose, send a message to the team over? If the guy is a dedicated pro, works hard in practice, and just makes one terrible play, do you want to cut him? You know, you might need him later on. Do you put him, or do you do something like I would think, put him on a practice squad for a week? You know what I mean? And have him stay on the sideline the next game in street clothes. Everyone will see that you can't play. Or sit him down at the next practice thing and play the play over and over and over. You know, and just just address the team and say, look, one play doesn't decide a game normally, but this came closest to it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't go for Tyreek Stevenson's apology. Oh, this will make me be better. We have to move on. You know, no, I don't want to hear have to move on. No, we don't move on from this. I think that's, or how about this, Mac? Just suspend them for 2 games for taunting the opposition that led to so-and-so without pay. And see, does he appeal it, or 1 game without pay? Without pay. And if you're really sorry over what you did, you're not going to put in an appeal to collect your money for that game. You're going to accept a 1-game suspension without pay.
Well, I mean, I disagree with what you say. 1 play doesn't determine a game. Normally, there's only 3 plays, 4 plays that determine the outcome of the game. And that was a big one. And letting them catch the ball on the sideline was another big one. And there were a lot of boneheaded penalties the Bears got that knocked them back out of, getting a touchdown and having to kick field goals. I mean, the Bears are an undisciplined team. They are an undisciplined team. It shows not only with that tip drill, but it also shows on all the penalties they got that knocked them out of the red zone and had them kick field goals. And there's a problem over there with discipline. There's no doubt about that, Jack. So,
but Mac, even the Chicago Bears fans in the end zone were pointing to Tyreek Stevenson. The play is going on. It's comical in a way. It's funny. He's taunting people, and he's the one that taps the ball actually to why. It was like a tip drill, like he's helping the Commanders. And this is going to go down in history as one of the NFL's great bloopers.
Yes.
One of the great bloopers. We could think of a few. Who was it? Was it Alan Page or Jim Marshall that ran the opposite way? Was it Leon Lett, going after the ball? Great bloopers and great mishaps in NFL history. This is going to join it. Idiotic play by Tyreek Stevenson. Bears are 4-3, should be 5-2. And if I'm the head coach, I'd let the team know we really should be 5-2. We shouldn't be 4-3. We shouldn't have. I wouldn't even mention Tyreek Stevenson's name. I'd say we shouldn't have lost this game in the manner we did. Inexcusable, to give up a Hail Mary the way we did. And every guy on the team is going to understand. Tyreek, you're the guy who blew it. You don't even have to mention his name if you're ever lost.
So Anthony Richard is benched for Flacco. They're still at 4-4. We'll see if Flacco can do what he did for Cleveland, at least get them to the playoffs. Anytime a quarterback taps himself out because he's tired and needs a rest, I'm pushing on from him, Jack. I know they signed him to something or other. I'm drafting another quarterback. I don't want nothing to do with that guy. I really don't.
The problem with these GMs, Matt, they don't know when to cut their losses. When they draft the guy number 4 overall in the draft, they'll stick with him, because if you don't, you're acknowledging you wasted a draft choice that high, and they don't want to do that. So they're hoping it works out, and they stick with them, it seems, forever. And Anthony Richardson is going to have a spot in the NFL for years to come because of how high he was drafted. They move on from him, you better believe another team is going to take him. Look, even teams are calling the Carolina Panthers about Bryce Young, thinking, look, we saw what he did in college. Let's draft him. Maybe we could develop him. And guys are going to last forever that way. It's a good move by Indianapolis. They're not making the playoffs. But right at this moment, I think Flacco gives them a little better chance to win. They play the Minnesota Vikings at Minnesota this week. They're coming off Minnesota 2 losses in a row, so they're going to be up for this game at home. But you mentioned about getting tired and going out. When your leader's too tired and has to go out, I mean, just hand the ball off if you're too tired. Call an audible where you call a sweep and you just pitch the ball for a couple of plays. Don't go to the bench and say you're too tired. I forgot the player's name, Mac, but in the Super Bowl a lot of years ago when the St. Louis Rams, when they won the Super Bowl against the Tennessee Titans, it came down to the last play of the game. Tennessee has the ball, a few yards from, the goal line. So they're maybe on the 8 or 9 yard line or whatever. Last play of the game, one of the guys on the Rams on the defensive line, he tells Dick Vermeil, the head coach, I'm tired. I'm going out. stick from there because you're tired. One play to go, last play of the Super Bowl, and you're tired and you want to go out. When something like that happens, Mac, it's a character thing. And Anthony Richardson, he's been physically hurt, but to be too tired and to sit yourself out, unless he was sick or something that we don't know about. That's the only explanation I could have if he had the flu or something like that.
Well, I imagine he wouldn't have gone back in the game if he was that sick, but he did end up going back in the game. Real quick, there was a NBA local last night. Denver beats the Nets 144 and 139 in overtime. Jack, I know you're kind of making fun of the Nets. I think the Nets are going to be a fighting team this year. I mean, they're taking Denver to overtime. That's one hell of a game. One hell of a team.
Wait, Mac. What do you mean a fighting team? I mean, teams that go, 20 and 62 on the year, they could be pesky. Play hard and show a lot of fight. I mean, who cares, really? The Nets aren't a very good team. You get the feeling with the Nets, they're not tanking it, obviously, but this is a franchise that's, not going anywhere in the short term, at least, meaning this year. I mean, they're not going to contend for like a play-in position, anything like that. Okay, let me retract. If the season ends and they were in contention for a play-in position and they come short, I would call that a very successful season. If they just contend, not for the playoff position, the play-in position, but I don't see it. Okay. But as long as they play hard night in, night out, and they can compete with the elite teams, lose to them, of course, but compete with them at least, okay, I'll give them their due.
Okay. All right, cool. Today's games, the Lakers against the Cavs. My matchup is LeBron James against Atkinson, the head coach of the Cavs, right? Didn't he get him fired from the Cleveland?
No, LeBron had nothing to do with him. LeBron, no.
Wait.
What are you talking, Mac? Let me explain. I don't want you to make a fool of yourself, Mac. Let me explain.
Okay, but let me ask you a question.
I tried to save you, Mac, from humiliating yourself. You still have time to let me go.
Go.
Kenny Atkinson was the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets during the time Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were on the team. Kenny Atkinson was a disciplinarian, and they didn't take too well Durant and Irving. I'm only speculating that it was mostly Irving because he was the real leader of that net team, not Durant. Durant's not a leader type. Maybe he'll be one with Phoenix this year. Who knows? And they moved on from Kenny Atkinson, even though he was a good coach. Kenny Atkinson then went to the Golden State Warriors, where he was Steve Kerr's assistant. They was obviously successful there. And now the Cavaliers hired him. He never coached LeBron James.
Okay, that's right. It was Durant. That's right. It was.
Yeah,
Durant.
that's a good thing I cut you off. You look to blame LeBron for everything. I mean, imagine LeBron's listening, figuring, I know this guy's saying I got Kenny Atkinson fired. But Anthony Davis. Yeah.
You know something, though? Irvin and LeBron are very close. I mean, they played on a championship team together. I bet LeBron still had something indirectly to do with Kenny Atkinson getting fired.
They weren't that close. No. Irving and LeBron weren't that close at Cleveland. They get along. They're okay with one another. They're good with one another now. They're good with one another, but they weren't that close in reality. After Irving left, he would take a couple of little digs with LeBron. Irving's problem was that he didn't have the influence he liked to have at the time because LeBron was the star. Right. And Irving couldn't take over as the leader. Same thing at Dallas.
Right.
Luka is the leader of that team. If push comes to shove, the franchise is going to back Luka over Kyrie. It just is, the team backed LeBron, the Cavaliers over Kyrie. If push ever came to shove. But with Durant was good friends with Kyrie. he was happy to allow Kyrie to, be the big voice, and there was no power struggle there.
And let's be clear, Kyrie has changed a lot.
It's been good.
He's accepted the role. He knows that he's number 2. He's not number 1, and he's total team player right now. When I watch, he's very good off the court, and on the court. So he's really changed.
Yeah, Kyrie's not a bad person. No, Kyrie was never a bad person. He would just kind of be a little erratic at times. Things he'd say and how he would act a little bit, but he was never a bad person. He was never like a mean-spirited person.
No, he
was all over the place. Let's not forget the way he was, Mac.
Yeah, I know.
He had to be. He had to get out of town.
Yeah, I agree.
He couldn't put up with the shenanigans after a while.
I agree. We're coming near the top of the hour. I'll get your opinion on this, Jack. Again, this is a conspiracy theory started by me. Okay, so the WNBA has fired 8 coaches, right? And they also, just before all these coaches got fired, they have opted out of their contract for 2025, meaning they want more money, they want insurance, they want all this stuff, and of course, they're not to me, they're not earning it, right? They're not on their own. The NBA is paying for them. They're not really putting people. If they're putting people in the seats besides Caitlin Clark, it's at a discount. But anyway, so now the owners start firing all these coaches. One, Caitlin Clark's coach. One, an outspoken coach from the Connecticut Sun. And I'm wondering, maybe the owners are kind of sending a message.
I don't know. Maybe they feel they can improve their teams with another coach. I don't know what message is really being sent. And I know we're running out of time. The NBA has to support the WNBA. Like you said the other day, they don't have competitors, ESPN, for like a TV contract to hike the price. And we'll see, but the league did take a leap up this year as far as public relations went, and the profile increased. So at least that was good.
I think the owners are sending a message to the coaches: control your players, talk to them, let them know.
I don't think that's the case at all.
I don't know. We didn't get to talk about Rex Ryan acting like Colin Kaepernick. Campaigning for a job everywhere. We'll talk. Well, maybe I'll save that for Friday.
We're out of time. You got to save it for Friday. Man.
I do. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Thanks. Support our sponsors, right? We got a few sponsors that support us. Cheap Seats. They listen. You got the promo code NSS. You make your purchase. When you're checking out, you hit the NSS promo code again, and now they know who you are. You're going to get all the great deals after you do the purchase. After you do the purchase of your first tickets, and you'll get all the great deals. Of course, Fanatics, your team sportswear. If you like the Jets, like Jack, you can go in there. You can get their shirts and hats, and anything else you want for them. And of course, Zodiac. Check out the site, ZodiacTv.com. Choice of a new generation when it comes to music and sports. And they do a lot of sports on there, but they do support us in national streaming sports. A lot of our shows go on there. So thank you. Wednesday is our ultimate day on Roku, Jack, as far as shows, show after show after show after show, all the way till 10 o'clock at night. So folks, have a great Wednesday. Me and Jack will be back live on Friday. And then we get sports memories. We got the big football. Me and Jack are always busy. I don't know. We're supposed to be retired. We're busy. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, we'll be talking about Game 6 of the World Series Friday morning and about the Jets winning the night before. See you, man.
From your lips to God's ears, Jack. Have a good one.